This week in Artificially Informed, EU cracks down on Iranian cyber chaos. SMS MFA is no longer enough. And the Pentagon's eyeing AI training, AI's AI to train on secrets that are classified and otherwise. Stay tuned as we learn more. I'm your host, Logan Edmonds, CEO of TTS Cyber, and I am joined by a very special co-host today. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
I'm Patrick Herter with Your Network Security.
So, this has been a fun week. Fun being used loosely.
It's always new news.
We got some stuff going on. Well, let's start off with our headline for the week. So the EU is cracking down on Iranian cyber chaos. The Iran conflict, and sadly, as time of this recording, has not slowed down. And as we suspected, cyber warfare linked to Iranian state-linked groups has been in abundance. With last week, we reported on Stryker, Patrick, and the whole Fortune 500 company being brought to its knees. This week, we see the EU fighting back. What's your take on this article right here?
Well, this is always going to be a hard one in any conflict going forward. I mean, you can be anywhere conducting cyber warfare. So hackers can hide inside buildings and civilian locations. You really can't see them and know where they are at a given point. So that war is going to go from kinetic to all virtual. And that's where the battlefield's going to be in a large part of this stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, consequences.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing about this is infrastructure, right? Like the infrastructure, the lines between physical and digital have never been more blurred. You can, by flipping the right computer off, turn off water for a town. I mean, it's maybe a bit facetious to say it that way, but it's not untrue. What I'm seeing specifically, and we're seeing this right now. So to read the article in hand, the European Union has sanctioned the Tehran-based company Eminet, and I know I mispronounced that horribly, Eminet Pasargad, as a front for Iranian state-backed cyber operations targeting Western nations. The group has been tied to election interference efforts, disinformation campaigns, and breaches like the exposure of more than 200,000 Charlie Hebdo subscribers, along with just various disruptive attacks across Europe. And at the same time, the EU also, and this is sort of got buried in the lead, expanded sanctions to Chinese-linked entities involved in large-scale cyber espionage and hacking for hire events. So it's not just the Iranian crew that's being targeted here. Chinese-linked efforts are also being impacted. It seems like they're trying to send a message to me. How effective that message is remains to be seen, but it is state-backed cyber activity and commercial hijacking groups. They're working at scale. And the regulators are trying to set examples as best they can with the tools that they have to try to just dissuade them from doing what they're doing.
It makes sense too that they would hire out some of the efforts because, like you said before, turning off the water supply, and the Iranian regime had unplugged the internet several months ago. So I imagine seeing somebody just going zip. It wasn't a very technical disconnection, so they might have to hire out their efforts.
Plausible deniability, unfortunately, has been a problem with these linked groups for a while. There's a really big advantage for being able to have a loosely affiliated group if you're a nation state, because if things go horribly wrong, you can just blame them and say, hey, they were operating independently. We didn't know. But when it's advantageous for that group, because now they get state-level resources directed their way. That is a terrifying combination. And it's high risk for these groups. I will say that. Like, they have some big kahunas, but they're effective, is what I took away from this article, enough so that the European Union felt like it needed to make an example.
It's hard to judge your enemy, too, when you don't know where they're coming from, how large they are, and how well funded.
I would agree with that. I don't like that. I was going to make us a little bit bigger, but I don't like it. We're going back to the little screen. All right, well, moving on to our next article, and you know about this, looking at Inside the Stack today. Today's headline, SMS MFA. Is it enough? The answer is no. It's no longer enough. Let's talk about this. Why? What's wrong, right? Like, I still get text messages. Every time I log into my bank, they still insist on texting me, right? Every time I log into an app I've forgotten about years ago, it sends me a text message. isn't that a good thing, right? Like, shouldn't I be getting those things? Shouldn't I be using that?
Yeah, the 6-digit code stuff just has gotten weaker over time with like reverse proxy attacks. I've seen it. You can get the same problem with even the software version. But in a targeted attack, you'd really have it's not that hard to clone a cell phone.
No. Or call a phone carrier and convince someone you're not to get your phone activated. SIM jacking has been a horrendous problem. If I know a CEO of the company I want to go after has a phone with T-Mobile, if I call T-Mobile a couple hundred times pretending to be the assistant of that CEO, I got a decent statistical chance of convincing somebody on the other end that I'm actually them and getting his phone number pointed towards my new, burner phone.
Yep.
That it's not even that technical. It's just a matter of how comfortable am I trying to scam somebody on the phone.
Yep. Social engineering. That's a science that's been alive for many decades.
Yeah, other thing too we keep dealing with on this one, access token theft is a real problem, and it's not just SMS, but SMS is definitely one that I'd put at a high risk for it. So for those of you watching, I have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. Non-technical, non-boring version. When you sign into a website and you put your password in and get that code, it obviously doesn't prompt you to re-sign in every time you click something inside the site, right? Even though you're opening new links and going new pages. How does it know you're you? Well, what happens is that authentication, you essentially get the digital equivalent of an ID badge. It says, hey, this person's authenticated themselves. They say they are who they say they are. And don't challenge them for a predetermined amount of time. Could be an hour, could be 15 minutes, could be a couple days, could be a year. All depends on the individual provider. Here's the problem. Those tokens, those access tokens, they're not that hard to steal off a computer. You get someone to click the wrong link, go to the wrong website, they all get saved in your web browser, and they can just dump that on a different machine. Now, what does that mean? It means they can run in there as you without your password, without your codes, and just as long as the session token's still good, access all your stuff on the sites that it was used for. There is ways to beat that, and we're seeing that fortunately on our side get better. I've seen passkeys definitely picking up in popularity. Patrick, have you seen the same?
Yeah, I would say that would probably be the number one method that has been used to attack clients, things like that we've had to respond to is session token theft.
So what do you do, right? Like, what do you do? And my answer right now is there's many different ways to crack this nut, but to start with, password managers, and specifically what I'm getting more and more into is passkeys. Passkeys have their drawbacks, but they are superior in almost every way to something like an SMS token. A website offers you the option to set up a passkey via your password manager or via your iCloud account. I actually prefer the iCloud. I don't like password manager passkeys. Worth doing. Just make sure you don't lose the device or you have a way to get in case the passkey doesn't work.
I'm very pleased to see the rapid adoption of passkeys in the industry. It's very noticeable the last several months.
Well, if you have any questions, hit me up on LinkedIn, hit Patrick on LinkedIn. We are both available there. We can help you with identity and implementing passkeys and other what we call phishing resistant methodologies that are better than SMS. There's many options depending on what's good for you. Moving on to the finance section of today's story. Patrick, this is nuts. I am really bummed I didn't get in on this. So in a down market, I don't know, do you pay attention to the stock market at all?
I like to play the long game, but this is kind of one I would want to stay far away from.
So I'm long, and occasionally you might see me if I have a really big position do a little bit of options just to protect myself. I don't do short, I don't do day trading. But I like to follow what's going on in the AI market because the AI, as we've talked about, drives the US economy more and more on what's going on there. And our headline is pretty nuts, which is there was a company, and I love the headline our editorial team put in here, our intro. Wall Street just chugged 3 espressos and screamed, AI drones, and then accidentally hit the buy button 700% too hard. It's funny because it's kind of true.
Yeah. This is about as bad as funeral home humor. Just every time one drone explodes, stock prices go up.
Swarmer Inc., an AI drone software, stunned markets with a massive IPO surge. I mean, they went public. They closed up to 520% after briefly hitting a 700% mark in a single day of IPO, which means if you put $1 in them, you would have made $5.20 by the end of the day. That is insane IPO territory. They raised its stock at just $5 a share, and it hit $380 million valuation, despite that they only have a revenue stream just over $300,000.
These ratios are scary. This is, yeah.
Swarmer doesn't build drones, but it buys the software. It develops the software that coordinates large-scale autonomous drone swarms, and it's already been used in over 100,000 missions in Ukraine. So they do have a proven track record. This is basically the way I see this. It's indicative of the current macroeconomic climate and politics we live in. This is a company that is taking growing losses. It's not really that big, 300,000, right? It is the definition of small business. Yet it rose a $380 million valuation. I think that's two things. One, investors are recognizing defense tech is not a bad place to look at right now.
Right.
With the world the way it's going, I would not financial advice, but I wouldn't necessarily argue with them on that. And then two, AI powered warfare systems are going to have a more and more prevalent future for us. So looking for low cost ways to implement, AI powered warfare. I mean, I'm here in Columbus, Patrick. You've probably heard of Anduril.
Yep.
The drone jet people, right? We're making killer jets over here, and I've seen the demos, and they're freaking terrifying. Of the jets that have no cockpits and it's just robots piloting them.
Yeah. Well, you have hundreds of drones following in sync, as long as they all follow in sync.
It's a stark reality. One of the things I heard, if you ever watch the show Billions, I like it. It's a bit intense. Don't watch it with your kids around. But one of the things to take is it was a guy talking about why does he care about the stock market? And it's how the world feels in macro sense, right? You can see how the world feels on a daily basis. And the sentiment of the world based on this is defense tech with AI is here to stay. And it's got in a world where we're kind of questioning, is AI going to eat itself? Is these CapEx expenditures really sustainable? I think defense tech's carving itself a very niche response of it'll probably be fine. That's my take.
Yeah, I think that's one of those industries where you have to keep up with the enemy, even if there's huge risks, which there are. You got to keep going.
It does. We could sit here all day and talk about the ethical and ethical considerations. Wow, I am stuttering today, man. AI and warfare and taking man out of the middle is actually where we're going to go to our next story. So our next story is government, and this is the latest in the update of the epic showdown between Anthropic and Washington, D.C. So the headline is The Pentagon Eyes AI Training on Secrets. The Pentagon is exploring plans to allow AI companies to train models directly on classified data within secure environments. Shift from the current use where the models only analyze but don't learn from sensitive information. This move aims to create a more accurate, mission-specific AI system capable of handling complex military tasks like intelligence analysis and targeting. And partnerships with major AI firms are already in place. So, i.e., Gemini, Grok, OpenAI, all these guys are in there, except Anthropic, which we'll talk about in a second. And there's some danger here because training AI on classified data introduces significant risks. And just to list a few of them, the possibility of sensitive information being embedded in models that will be used for other workloads or unintentionally exposed across government departments. Because these models get shared, there might be data tied up in them that is classified for the DoD, but ends up in the Department of Energy, for example. Not good.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I know you have a lot to say about this, so let's pause there for a second. What's your take on the current AI showdown and how it's it kind of, especially at the federal level, playing out with Anthropic and their showdown?
Yeah, it's getting pretty brutal. I mean, Pete Hegseth and the Trump administration are trying to get away from Anthropic, and they put a 6-month deadline on it. I saw an article earlier this week that the staff, they're reporting the staff are kind of slow walking that progress. And I don't know, I'm not inside, but I could see a utilitarian reason for that, because once you kind of get used to a particular software platform, even an AI platform, you have history and you have a working relationship with it. It's hard to move. So especially when you're in the middle of a conflict, that's kind of a tough time to decide to jump ship from one platform to another.
Large language models, by their inherent nature, are problematic when you're dealing with sensitive workflow issues, let alone the quality of the LLM. Anthropic, I mean, they literally built a multi, almost $1 billion brand on. I don't know if they hit $1 billion stats. I need to check. I think they did. I think they have. But the ethics, right? Like, how is that data compartmentalized? How is controls on it? I mean, one of my most popular post on LinkedIn this week was about the difference between LLMs and SLMs, small language models, right? Locally hosted stuff. They
Yeah.
have pros and cons. And one of the ones with the SLMs is you can put it on an isolated network where the data only stays in the one place and train on the one machine, which is a physical control around where the data goes. I mean, this putting war secrets and putting national infrastructure and secrets and all this other stuff and these open and these models that are commercialized and with the very nature of LLMs and how they bleed out, it's nerve wracking without going into the
Right.
details.
Yeah, and without the hallucinations you mentioned.
Oh, don't get hallucinations. Oh.
Yeah, the articles of AI in certain circumstances and certain applications turning on their programmers.
Well, speaking of hallucinations, let's move to our next one. And this one, guys, is probably one of the more depressing ones out of the week. So there's a rule if you're in Europe, which is, the most popular football or soccer teams, if you're in the United States, you are careful about mentioning certain events or saying certain things about them. And Grok didn't get the memo. So AI goes off the rails. Grok sparks outrage on X is today's headline. And if algorithms in HR departments, Grok would already be on its third and final warning and escorted out by a very confused robot. Because here's what's going on. So Grok is investigating, X is investigating Grok for posting a wave of deeply offensive posts generated by its AI bot. After users prompted to produce hurtful, harmful, and inflammatory content about soccer's most tragic moments, including the Hillsborough disaster, the Munich air disaster, and the death of the Liverpool player Diogo Jota. Both Liverpool and Manchester United quickly condemned the content, demanding its removal, and the situation has escalated as screenshots circulated online, sparking outrage among soccer/football fans and officials and public figures. There's not many things in life I know about outside the United States as a cultural difference. One of the ones I know is in Latin America and Europe, you do something controversial in football, the amount of public backlash you get is extraordinary. Grok just found this out firsthand. What's your take on this, man?
They take their football very seriously. And I could say so much on this. If AI had actual emotions, then I don't even want to know how much worse it could be, because if it can do this absent emotions, it's a very effective wrecker of lives. There's been a number of articles like this on the individual level on things AI has turned on in getting into social media.
Emotional provocation has been a huge problem, I think, with some of the AI content I've seen. Like, because of the stuff it's trained on, the most popular content on the internet and human written, right, it is meant to draw out an emotional reaction. Like, we know that. Like, rage bait, what do they call it? Clickbait. Like, they're all meant to get a reaction out of you. And these AIs are trained on that. And so we're starting to see them kind of learn, adapt, and get better at posting very provocative things that are designed to create a very visceral human reaction. And that's not always a good thing. Last week's headline, I don't know if you paid attention to the show last week, Patrick, was literally people were using AI to make war pictures from the Iranian conflict seem even more violent and more harsh. Get more emotional reactions out of them.
100%. I've Facebook Reels. YouTube's bad enough, but Facebook Reels are almost 100% AI videos. There was one I didn't see if this was one. There was one about a fire on the USS Abraham Lincoln. It showed a video that showed firefighters putting out fires on the deck of the aircraft carrier. Determined that it was an AI fake, but it may have tricked Donald Trump briefly, and it got 4 million clicks within a few hours.
Oh, don't tell me an AI hallucination tricked the president of the United States. What? The Matrix is coming full circle.
Deep analysis on it. It was determined that the paint lines at the end of the takeoff airstrip were what tipped it off, because historical pictures showed paint lines in a certain way. The AI video kind of messed up the paint lines at the end. Other than that, it was very convincing.
All right, you've opened it up. Let's talk about online scams. So Meta has declared war on online scams is the headline for this section for our last piece in technology. Scammers logged into our intro goes, scammers logged in this week expecting business as usual, instead walked straight into a boss fight they didn't prepare for. Meta is rolling out a new wave of AI-powered anti-scam tools across WhatsApp, Facebook, and Messenger, designed to catch fraud faster than it spreads. The updates include device-linked warnings in WhatsApp to prevent account takeovers, alerts for suspicious friend requests on Facebook, and real-time scam detection inside Messenger chat. These systems go beyond simple keyword checks, and they analyze behavior, context, and communication patterns to flag impersonation attempts, fake job offers, and shady links that are getting harder and harder to spot. According to Meta, they've already removed over 159 million scam ads, along with millions of fake accounts, and often before users even saw them, so before they hit the mainstream, while expanding advertiser verification as well as partnership with law enforcement. So, I mean, the big takeaway is fight AI with AI, which then is fought with AI. Feels like a never-ending. I mean, on one hand, I'm glad to see scam ads go down, right?
Right.
But there's a little cynical part of me reads that and goes, okay, so how many got through? Because it's just what I personally experience on their platform. Does that ring with you?
Yeah, and when people are nervous about AI, I remind them that social media has been using AI for longer than these chat models have been out. So, yeah, that cynical side of you makes a lot of sense because I go, why didn't they do this 10 years ago? Why is it just now maybe effective? What else is going on?
I mean, AI. I mean, what's the escalation here, right? Use
Yeah,
AI to work around the AI, and that seems to be in the game we're in now. With especially as deepfakes are starting to really take off. I've seen some really good ones too on the internet, and it seems to be this never-ending game of escalation. I catch you doing deepfake using AI. Well, I have AI figure out how to get around you catching me do fake deepfake with AI, and it's just never ending, right?
yep. And who's the
Deepfakes
collateral damage?
are people, and you know the thing Kim strikes me still a ridiculous percentage of people, even though we all should know at this point deepfakes are a thing. It's been blasted from the hilltops on every media outlet, on every public talk show, on internet personalities. We all know deepfakes are a thing. People just see something on the internet, and a surprising percentage of them just believe it. Still,
Mhm.
no questions asked. It is the moment we stop being able to trust video is kind of is honestly the moment I'm like I'm out, right? Like
Right.
video is never going to be a source of truth for me ever again, and I'm never going to recommend people to go on TikTok or Reels to get their information. Like, if
No.
anything, finding good information that you can trust is becoming a diamond in a rough scenario where I don't like this. I don't think it's a good idea, but you have to do your own individual kind of finding and vetting and checking, and not everybody's going to do that.
Yeah,
And on top
not
of that,
everybody
what's
has the time. This society's moving too fast.
too fast and too much AI. So, takeaway for this week, I guess. We're both in business. We both do stuff. My takeaway was I am a big believer in all things, and we talk about this over and over, that the fix 9 times out of 10 for some of the biggest problems in business and life it's just accountability, right? Telling someone they are in charge of their own decisions, this is their sphere of responsibility, and holding them accountable to the outcome of their decisions, right? Like that is something that I resonate deeply with. And I'm finding more and more a lot of companies had an assumption that they could implement AI without accountability. Like AI would replace the need for accountability, new technology replace the need for having stakeholders and people who own it. And if anything, it just reveals more poignantly you don't have good accountability in your organization because when you put, for example, AI in broken workflows and technology processes, it doesn't fix things. It just makes the gap show up harder and faster. That was my takeaway from this week.
Yeah. Well, and AI is definitely going to be disruptive. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for the industry in a number of different ways, but we can't change our lives now in anticipation of that and all the hype. There's an awful lot of hype about it. So verify, like you said, you know, really vet what your sources of information are, and stay close to those sources and don't just take whatever shows up on your feeds because all of that is geared towards clicks.
I So one of the things we did with this podcast, and we'll continue to do with our newsletter, is trying to sift through the noise and finding the meat, right? And I think more and more that is the value and the currency of the day and age. AI moves at such a breakneck pace. And if you sit out there and try to do your own research, and this is the problem I think we're trying to solve here, and we'll leave it at this, if you try to do your own research, it is a huge time investment. It is, candidly speaking. If you're not working at this stuff day in, day out through like your day job, you're going to be spending an hour or two every week minimum just reading headlines and figuring out what's buzz and marketing hype versus what's actually moving the world. So here's what we do. Our newsletter, this is our call to action today, is on LinkedIn. You can go to my profile, to the top thing, click sign up for my newsletter. Once a week, we are taking the top 5 stories, which we also review on this show, from government, security, business and finance, technology, and everyday life, and bringing them to you in easy to digest chunks so you can stay up to date with what's going on in the world of AI without having to put that kind of time investment. If that's something that you're interested in, you can do one of two things. Hit me up on LinkedIn, sign up for the newsletter, or hit the bell icon if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook to subscribe to my channel to go ahead and stay up to date on our weekly podcast. Any final thoughts, Patrick, before we adjourn?
Don't worry. Live your life and try to as the weekend comes in, just enjoy what is in front of you. Enjoy your families.
I was hoping you'd give me a goat story, but that'll have to speak for the next call. Stay tuned, stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the next one.